Haven't heard from
The meeting is live, Madam Mayor. I have not heard from him.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Good night. Good morning, everybody. It is August 24th. Welcome to the August 24th pre-agenda meeting. Do we have a roll call for this?
Yes, the meeting is live. Whoops, sorry. I have not heard from him.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Good night. Good morning, everybody.
Sorry about that. I always forget about that. Mayor Betty Resch.
Here.
Vice Mayor Commissioner McVoy.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here.
And I do not see Commissioner Diaz.
Okay, great. Well, it was good to be back in person last night. Felt very good. And it was I think we had a really good discussion. It was an important conversation. And I think we did really well. Does anybody have any burning issues that they want to talk about quickly? I have something I would like to talk about, but if somebody else has something, I would.
I'm good, Mayor. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to talk about process and the agenda. We have in the past many times discussed putting things on the agenda and a kind of a process for it. And there have been, you know, over the past year, and everybody's been pretty good about that, but over the past year, there have been a fair number of items which are not, you know, we have, one of the reasons we have the pre-agenda meetings is to talk about the agendas coming up. And I don't, you know, and this is pretty much directed, I think you understand, Mr. McVoy, you have a tendency to bring things without going through the, you know, as an emergency, as an add-on. And it's, you know, last week with those three things, there are 2 or 3 things that you brought up. And I'm just wondering, I mean, do you object to having a procedure that we don't have add-ons without talking about them unless it's an emergency?
Yeah, I do object to that. I think that for good democratic governance, we need to, any commissioner who needs to bring things to the commission should have the option to do that. Whether,
let me stop you right there. No one is saying that that's not the case, that shouldn't be the case. What we've only done is, as a professional courtesy and to make us work as a more functioning unit, the 5 of us, is to talk about it ahead of time so nobody's blindsided. If you know, I don't think we had an agreement that everyone has to agree to put on the agenda. I think Commissioner Malega was incorrect with that. But in terms of just coming, if it's not an emergency, bring it to the group so that we can form our own thoughts about it before it actually does appear on the agenda. I think as a professional courtesy, it's not, you don't get to, I agree with you that anybody, you know, we've talked about that people can bring stuff up. I'm talking about the add-ons. And it's very difficult to, it certainly was very difficult for me last week. And it's very difficult, you know, if somebody brings up at a pre-agenda meeting, I want, you know, X, Y, Z. Well, then that gives us a chance to think about the pros and before it comes to a meeting, to do a little research, do a little preparation. So it's not, you know, it's not a decision that we have to make right away. And I'm asking all of us, you know, occasionally there'll be like a presentation. It's a non-issue, you know, so somebody has a presentation that they bring up or whatever. But in terms of things that are going to have action, you know, I'm just going to reiterate, I'm asking as a professional courtesy, and I think as a better functioning of us as a unified board, to not bring things up, substantive things, unless we've discussed an emergency, or to bring it up in commissioner comments saying, listen, I'm thinking about this. Can we talk about it? You know, we talk about it at the next meeting, so that some of us, there's I see Mr. Diaz is here, so that, you know, it's fair to everyone to have an opportunity to think about what's going on. That's what I'm asking. And I'm asking us, you know, we pretty much agreed on that. And I'm just asking that we live by that. That's all. I just think it's as a professional courtesy.
I take some exception to the comment of labeling it as courtesy. I think in the course of governing, sometimes things have to come up, and they have to come up when they have to come up. And we always have the opportunity to vote on them. You know, I can propose something, somebody else can propose something, whether it goes through the pre-agenda process or whether it doesn't. That's a process that most cities don't do, the pre-agenda meetings. We've chosen to do it.
Which sets us apart.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, but I don't think other cities manage to do it fine with simply making motions or doing things at meetings
We
and
don't
they
know how
get
they
along.
do
Okay.
it. It may have come up under commission comments the week before. We don't know how that functions. So,
Well, I
I'm
think
gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. I'm asking that not to happen unless it's sometimes there's a true emergency. But I'm asking that things not be added to the agenda unless it's an emergency or something inconsequential. And I do think it is a courtesy, and I do think it helps. I think over the year, it's really helped us to function as a much more collegial body, a much more professional body. And no one's saying things can't go on the agenda, but I think as a functioning, as a part of our functioning, we have a pre-agenda meeting to talk about things coming up. So I'm not looking for a response. I'm just asking as the mayor that we don't bring things up unless it's an emergency that has to be dealt with, unless it's something like an inconsequential, mention of something. And if it's not brought up in the pre-agenda meeting or under commissioner comments for the following week, I just think I think it's poor form, and I think we can do better. That's all.
And all have opinions about what's the best way to operate meetings and what's the best way to operate discussions, and those are fine. And I respect that you think that that's poor form or whatever the right term is, and that's fine. I don't think we need to be restricted in that way. I think it's fine that we try to do that as a general procedure, but there will be times, and I think that the rub will be one person's emergency won't be viewed by the next person as an emergency. So, or urgency or whatever one wants to call it. So I'd say let's not get too focused on process. If we want to get focused on process, there are things we could talk about that might need some attention. But I respect your request as a suggestion, as an operating procedure. I'm all for, people being able to think about things. It won't always work that way.
And I also think for our public to have some, another reason I think it is courteous and professional is that people do watch these meetings. People do watch the commission meetings. And I think as a courtesy for them, so that the citizens can have some input before we start voting on things if they come up as an emergency. I see two hands up. Sarah, I think you were first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So that was actually going to be my comment, is that the reason that we have an agenda and we put the agenda out as far ahead as that we do is because everybody on this dais practices transparency. You cannot have transparency when you add on a last minute item. Not only does it blindside the colleagues and staff, it also blindsides the community. That's first. Second of all, thank you for bringing up respect, Mr. McBoy. The lack of respect and decorum on the dais last Tuesday is gut-wrenching to me. We said as a community-led elected body that we were going to do better with regards to respect for each other and respect for our profession. And what happened last Tuesday with the mayor being shut down by you as acting vice mayor was disrespectful, was disheartening, and quite frankly, I was saddened by it. And I thought that, that we were going to lead the city in a better, more respectful way. And I just have to say, for the record, I was greatly disappointed that people in Boynton Beach were reaching out to me while I was on vacation about the disrespect and the way that our mayor was pretty much shut down and hushed when she was not in person, but via Zoom due to a health concern. And I would ask us all to be more respectful, not get up and walk out when we don't like what one person's saying or shut somebody else down. It's disrespectful, and we can do better as a city.
Thank you. Ms. Stokes, Kim.
Hi, yes. I would like to be able to move forward and not do a lot of finger pointing. I have seen multiple people bring items up during their commission liaison comments asking for consensus. It's not just one person that does it. A lot of people do it. As I was thinking about, kind of the direction that we've been heading in and how we got here, I made a personal decision myself that I'm likely not going to give consensus and I don't want people to interpret it that I don't agree or that I don't have an initial reaction to agree. But I would like time to think about it. And even if it's something I've thought about for a year, if it's not an agenda item and, you know, we don't have the time to do the proper discussion and give the public the proper context, then there are people out there that just are waiting for us to say something to pounce on it and create a whole storm of issues around it. And if we don't set the proper context for the conversation, you know, they're going to make their own. And I think it's important for us to make sure that we're doing that. So even if I agree with things in the future, I'm likely not going to give consensus, whether, you know, and I've done it for other people during commission liaison comments. And I think we all, you know, have to practice what we preach here. And these are meetings that where we can come together. So I agree with that. And I think the process can be better, but I think we should all hold ourselves accountable to the same standards. And yeah, I don't know. I have other things to say, but
Talking about some, you know, when we have, like, for example, under commissioner comments, you know, you'll bring up something, one of us will bring something up. It's not the same. It's still a conversation. It's not an action thing, you know, an action thing. So I just wanted to say that I don't want to dive so deep that we lose, you know, we have a pre-agenda meeting going on. So I'm going to end the what?
From what I've seen, I don't remember us having a lot of like adding action items on that we actually voted on. Can I have consensus to bring something back? Yeah.
Right.
But you know, we haven't had a lot of, I don't remember having add-ons where we've actually taken a vote. It's just a consensus to bring things back. But like I said, I think it's important that we set the context for the community. Our meetings are long, they're loaded, in an effort to expedite them. If in the past, I may have given consensus, like I said, again, without the proper context setting. And I just don't think that that's a place where I want to be. I don't want to be defending something that I supported because I didn't have the opportunity at the time to justify or explain it because it wasn't what the focus of the meeting was. So I just don't want people to interpret that as me rejecting an idea. It's just, I want to make sure that like I said, we can set the grounds for the public. There are things though, I do worry a little bit about being too strict with the rules because there are things that are not emergencies per se, but you know, if we hear, if there's something just happened in the news and we just heard a news story like that day and we want to talk about it and just say, hey, bring this back for further discussion.
That's different.
I think we should, but so I think sometimes we get caught up and shut that down. I've seen conversations where we talk longer about if we should talk about something. And that to me is frustrating when there's like, this isn't the appropriate time. Yes, but I should be talking about this right now. And then like we end up going back and forth for longer than if we just said, hey, can we talk about this and add it to the next agenda? Yep, move on. So I think that's something I'd like to see us work on as well. I think the electric utility is an interesting, or the utility, water and electric combined, because there is only one meeting 1 month. So if the timing of the pre-agenda meeting doesn't fall like within that time, you know, and you're waiting till the next pre-agenda meeting to bring something up, you might have to wait an entire month to get something added on there. So I want to be a little considerate about that as far as, you know, and the staff can let us know if what we're saying is, doable or not. So we have staff that has expertise, and I think we can rely on them to tell us if, you know, I think if there's no harm in bringing something up, can we add this to the next agenda as a discussion item or something like that? And if they can quickly agree and say no big deal, great. If not, then they can say, I need to look more into this, you know, but
exactly. And we all have the opportunity, like for the, you know, because we only have 1 a month utility meeting, you know, that's plenty of time to talk to Brian or Ed about what's coming up on the next agenda. We certainly have plenty of time to do that. So let's move on. I just want to, you know, bring that up as a conversation. And
Madam Mayor,
yeah,
I did have my hand up.
well, I think I don't want to keep going. I want to move on. I'm running the meeting, and I think, you know, you said your position, And that's your position. And I think that, let's move on to the substantive stuff. This is the only
So-
chance that we can get to talk about stuff. So
Uh,
I'm
so-
respectfully, I'm respectfully asking us to move on.
well, you don't know what my hand was up for.
No, I don't.
I'm not allowed to speak. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
Mr. McBoy, you're not that. It's just, is it something that's, it's other than the conversation we were just having?
There's two pieces.
Well, let's hear number one.
Okay, so this is the pre-agenda meeting. I would like to ask for support from the commission. See where people are on it. This is the appropriate place to discuss
Right.
it. To propose that the city attorney prepare for us an ordinance of making the city commission the governing board, the voting board for the CRA in Lake Worth. Most other cities around us do it that way. Proposal can include a variety of options. It could be that the CRD maintains a board that's advisory but not voting. There may be other options that might want to be considered, but I'd like the city attorney to start that process of preparing those ordinances just for us to consider. And that we're
I'd like to respond to that.
I am not in support of that.
Okay, Ms. Willie, let me just say, I think that's a huge decision, and I think as with any important decision of the city, to have Glenn start an ordinance, I want to look into more the pros and cons. What are the pros and cons? I would actually like an expert that deals with CRAs. And I know, Mr. McBoy, you've never objected to an expert to come in and say, this is the reason you should do it. That's a very big decision. And I don't think it's one that's taken lightly. I know that other cities do it, absolutely. But the cities that do it are not cities that also have an electric utility, a stormwater. We have everything going on. And I think one of the reasons that I hesitate doing it is, or wanting to look into it closer, is just the amount of work involved. Our schedules are pretty busy now. And I think that if we look at, I just want to take a closer look before we start any ordinances. Number one, the workload. Number two, the expertise of a board, the independence of a board. So I instead of having an ordinance drawn up to do that, I'm asking that this is an important decision, and let's take a look at all the different sides. This is not an emergency. And I think that it bears looking at. But I would not support an ordinance now that said make us because you just said yourself, there are different ways to do it. So let's look at the different ways to do it. If in fact there's support to do that. I'm not in favor of it, but I certainly, we can certainly take a look off the face of it. I mean, I don't know what your schedule's like, but the amount of work involved with the CRA, it's a whole nother very time intensive thing. So Kim?
It's not just time intensive. We just nominated 3 new people or 4 new people for the CRA board. And part of being a strong leader is finding people that you can put your trust in to do the work that needs to be done. The CRA is a completely different animal. I'm not an architect. I'm not a lawyer. There are certain aspects of professions that need to be reflected on that CRA board. And I also don't believe that it's going to bring any justice to 5 people making all the decisions for every financial investment in the city. And as you just said, Madam Mayor, our plates are full with electric utility, ARPA, budget. I mean, there's not an extra minute in the day for me as a governing individual to say, yeah, I'll take on the CRA and be able to give it 150% to do the research that needs to be done to make the decisions that need to be made. And, if I can't do something in 100% plus capacity, I'm not interested in doing it because I don't feel that we'd be doing the community justice. But I hear what you're saying, and yeah, we can have somebody come in and give us our options. But as far as me being an elected and wanting to serve on a CRA board at the same time, I'm not interested.
Okay, Ronaldo?
I didn't get to speak yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
And I do have a hard stop at 9:30, so I just want to put out my 2 thoughts about this. I think I'm very much interested in hearing all the options of the one option that was the most appealing to me before is when, if it remains a 7-person board, you have the 5 elected officials, and then you still have the 2 members of the community that are appointed to offer their independence and to offer their expertise. I think the CRA, I would like for us all to work through the city manager and the city attorney and share our concerns with what the CRA is doing and why we feel like they are, why we are even discussing this. I feel like some of the actions that they've taken are undermining to this commission and the new board that we just appointed. And I want to make sure that that's not going to continue to happen, because I want to know who sets their agenda and why certain decisions were made the way that they were made. And I am frustrated when I hear that they're an independent board, so they don't have to give me information or they're not accountable to me, because I need to understand what they're doing. They are in charge of too many important decisions in this town. And it's actually more work for me in the Sunshine Law to have to run around and go talk to all the board members individually and talk to Joan and try to find out what's going on than to attend a meeting once a month and then have direct access to the staff of the CRA. So I would love, I think ideally, I'd love to have confidence that the new board is going to not be undermined.
What do you mean?
And
What do you say under, I'm just curious when you say undermine.
I think it
what-
was very, very inappropriate for them to put on a vote for who is going to be the vice chair for the next meeting when, what is it, 4 members of the new board were not present. That is highly inappropriate. I think we need to figure out what's going on, why these things were made. Was it actually part of some statute that you have to have those elections in August? Why was their August meeting moved when a board member said publicly that she couldn't be there? Why are they moving their board meetings? This isn't the first time that happened.
I think there was a reason for that with the
Well, I
past,
wanna-
but I don't know. I'm not going to defend it. I don't know.
I want to understand, because there are board members who are committed to serving the second Tuesday of the month that are having a hard time navigating these schedule changes. And, for the public, for transparency, for everything, we only move our meetings if there's like a holiday or something else. We don't just do it. I have a lot of questions about what's going on, who's actually calling the shots over there, and if our new board is even going to be given a chance. And I would like to explore all the options.
But wasn't it on the 9th, which is the second Tuesday?
No, they moved it to conflict with our meeting. And whenever
And you raised some, you raised some very valid points. So I would prefer for us as a process to address those things before we start making a huge change. Let's look at some of those things. I agree with you. Let's look at some of those things and figure out a way to better coordinate, to better communicate. And I am not generally a fan of the CRA. I've had some issues with the CRA. One of the things I ran on was the CRA L&M project. But I also know that since that happened, since the election, they have really changed their focus much more towards affordable housing, towards things that are a little less than, they've got their big developments up now. And so I would like to give them the benefit of a conversation before we start doing that.
I still want the city attorney to lay out what all our options are, because if we feel like if we give them a chance to work with this new board and it's not successful, then we need to be ready to act. That's my opinion. There's too many important things going on in the city. We're talking about small business incubators. I believe Commissioner Malega said the CRA had a big role of that in Delray. We have got to be working together. And other than having one meeting where none of the roles were clarified, and even some board members don't seem to really understand what their roles are in the CRA, what our roles are. I haven't seen any progress, and I was very disappointed by what happened. And I want to make sure that we have all the information from our city attorney, what other cities do, what all the options are. I don't want to wait 5 months and then restart this conversation if things head in a direction that we're not happy with. I'm very unhappy right now. I want to know what the options are.
I see Ronaldo, but I also see Glenn. Let's let Glenn have some input here. You're muted, Glenn.
Would you like me to defer to Commissioner Diaz first?
Sure.
I know Kim has to leave soon, so I don't know if she had anything else she wanted to bring out that's pressing as well, or okay. So basically, I'm looking at it from a pragmatic perspective. Like I certainly echo Commissioner Stokes' concerns about how things are run, but I think timing wise, we're in a good place to have this conversation. And I do agree. I think we should, whether we bring in an expert, whether we bring in neighboring towns and CRAs to learn how they do it, however you guys feel comfortable. But what I see, especially from a land use perspective, and also, the realization that there's huge community support for this through what I've learned through canvassing and data collecting and whatnot. A lot of people are uncomfortable. Basically, what it boils down to is a lot of people in our community, they're uncomfortable with tax dollars being made by decisions to spend those tax dollars being made by a board that basically we appoint, right? And they're not an elected board, they're big decisions. So there is an accountability aspect to that. And I would suspect that's why a lot of neighboring towns, the CRA is organized as a advisory board. But also, from a land use perspective, decisions and I do recognize, Mayor, that it has changed in the last year in terms of focusing more on affordable housing, but I don't think they've been entirely reflective of what our intention was. Like, last night, our budget workshop was amazing. I feel like we were on board on so many things and supportive of what we know needs to be done in the city to help our community. And from the redevelopment standpoint, it seems like the CRA has been kind of slow to catch up to that. And this is a problem that we should have been resolving years ago. It's not something to kind of dawdle on and procrastinate or whatnot. I mean, we need to do this pretty quickly. And I also agree with Commissioner Stokes pointing out that, because of Sunshine Law and how we're organized now, it's actually more clunky. I mean, if we went more advisory board or a different organization, there's probably ways to smooth that out, because Sunshine Law is both a blessing and a curse. And sometimes we need to move things pretty quickly, and especially when it comes to redevelopment and housing, and the community perceives that as we're not moving fast enough.
Well, I'm sorry, are you finished? Okay. And I have to tell you, Ronaldo, that since last Tuesday, since the issue came up, I have been flooded with emails and texts and messages about people very freaked out about the idea that we would be the body that controlled all the money in the city. So that's going to work both ways. You talk about, you've heard from people in the community. I've also heard from people from the community that are very upset about the concept. So, and I think that we are elected to represent, the community at large. So I don't want to run this through fast. Mr. Transivia, back to you.
Oh, thank you. So after the comments there, we began doing some preliminary research, and I've got the outline of kind of a report, letter, chart, all those things on CRAs, both the city's CRA, which has gone through different variations over the years. The commission has been the CRA board, members have been the CRA board. So I thought I'd lay that all out for you. We also have a chart of all the CRAs in Palm Beach County and how they're structured. And if you'd like, then you may want to have that conversation, and then maybe a separate conversation where you invite, Joan to come to a meeting and talk about their process. And my understanding, and it's a little bit from memory, is that at one point the CRA was the affordable housing driver in the city and was involved in programs affordable housing. So it seems like they've shifted and the commission shifted, and maybe it's just a matter of aligning those visions. So anyway, my suggestion is either September 6th or 20th, because the September 6th agenda is up on the screen, and that'd be a little tight to get this report, would still be incomplete, but
I
September
would
20th.
ask for I have surgery next week, so I've got another couple of week pushback.
Okay.
So
So it's some other agenda. We'll keep working on this report and get a full-fledged report. Later on, when it comes to the housing crisis, and I won't go too far because I know Commissioner Stokes is really interested in that. She just had to leave. But we're starting to look at potential experts to do that study. And one professor at FAU, on paper, we haven't spoken with this person at all, seems to have some expertise in both housing crisis issues and in economic development / CRA issues. So, it may be that you go down that path of having someone like that. And again, we haven't vetted this person. He was just referred. We read about him online. So I think we're all hearing where the commission's, the issues you're talking about, the housing issues, the affordability issues, the CRA issues. So just tell us what agenda you want it on, and we will tee it up for you.
I also think it would be helpful to have a workshop with the CRA and talk about our concerns with them. I think in all fairness to them, these are people that have devoted a lot of time and energy into their appointments there. So I think we did, that would not be a bad idea as well. Glenn, is your hand still up?
No.
Okay. Chris,
Let's propose it, Madam Mayor, with your surgery schedule is September 20th for the attorney to present this information. Is that all right with you?
hopefully if there's no complications.
We've voted on that. There will be no complications.
I gotta
We
tell
are
that to my doctor. Make sure I get some blood thinners when I get home this time.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, can I say something?
Sure.
I just want us to be cautious that as an elected board, every time a board, be it the planning and zoning, historical board, tree board, makes a decision that we're not happy with, that we're not giving the idea that we might just dismantle you if you don't go along with what the commission wants.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm fearful is happening right now, is that, we changed the way we did appointments because certain people on the dais didn't want me to appoint somebody. It's where it all started. And now that the board is going to be positioned on people that we as an elected body have appointed, we need to give them, in my opinion, the fair opportunity to serve the city. And I just don't want the people who do dedicate their time and give selflessly to the city to have a fear that certain commissioners, if we don't like the way they proceed with their vote, we might just dismantle you. We might just get rid of you, because that's not good governance.
If I might speak to that a little bit, I think that's a very inaccurate depiction of the situation.
Well, that's your opinion, but that's your opinion.
And your opinion was also presented.
No, this is what I'm hearing from the community. This isn't my opinion.
I'm hearing very different things from the community, and I think Commissioner Diaz alluded to hearing some very different things. We all hear from certain fractions of it more so than other fractions of it. That happens. However, the concern about the CRA is deep-seated and long-standing. It was something that was an issue in the last election in 2021. It was again an issue in 2022. There are many things, and it's amusing to me that we are worried when we are the governing board that makes decisions on $19 million. We are worried about taking on the responsibility for public tax funds that right now the decisions are made by an unaccountable group of people. And
Commissioner McVoy, stop. I am not worried about making decisions because I do my research and I'm prepared to make decisions. What I stated is that I am not prepared to take on another full-time job, which is what the CRA board is. It is not just something that you go, oh, I'm going to make a decision with 2 hours of research. I'm not somebody who can 100% say that I can take on this appointment as a CRA board member, because that's not what I ran on. When I ran as a commissioner, I ran as a commission knowing that I could give a certain amount of time to this city to make the best decisions possible for everybody in the city, not a fraction of the people. And I need everyone on the dais and everybody who's listening in the community to know that's not something I signed up for. And I don't want to do a job willy-nilly because we're not happy with one vote.
And the timing was rather telling.
We just, and let's give the people who the opportunity. Without going into detail, there's been family loss in the CRA. They have had issues on the board with health issues. And let's be a little, have a little human heart, that they just don't change the meetings just to change the meetings. There's no deceit that was happening. And if conversations were really had with board members, we would know their personal issues that happened that made things happen the way they did.
When a board has members that had a vacancy that was not filled, even though we appointed it in June for reasons that are totally obscure, they didn't fill that one. They had 2 more board members who were expiring their terms in 5 days. And for some reason, they had to do very significant votes before the appropriate turnover of the people who were appointed quite a while ago.
And my response to that is that those are the people that have been part of this conversation and would have the knowledge in terms of making a vote, having new people come on.
I completely
it's a
agree with
timely
you,
vote
Mayor.
for the Gulf Stream, and to have people that have just been appointed to the board make decisions on something that's been in discussion at the CRA, and I mean, it's a 7-member board
For years.
Yeah. And I mean, the timing, I'm furious that the CRA gave $3 million to the Gulf Stream. Let's have his ordinance to make us the CRA. The timing was interesting. So in terms of, we don't have much time, let's move forward. We're asking the city attorney to bring back some sort of assessment at the September 20th meeting.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Did you have something else, Chris?
Yeah, I do. An assertion has been made about respect and decorum at meetings. I want to be very clear that the reason I was quite sharp and quite firm at last Tuesday's meeting was what I heard, and to my knowledge, that's what everybody in that room heard, was there was support for looking into having the attorney make changes to the CRA. And the comment that the mayor made was, this looks like collusion. And that was basically an accusation of a sunshine violation. And that was why, absolutely, that had to be stopped. That was the disrespectful, to accuse members of your board who happened
all of a sudden, 3 issues came up at the end of a meeting, which was not on the agenda. You made a statement, I'm furious about the CRA, and all of a sudden you say, I have 3 votes. Do you have any input? So yeah, it was an amazingly coincidental.
And it was disrespectful at the fact that I wasn't sitting on the dais. I was out of town. The mayor was not physically there. And this is an important conversation that you just don't railroad to get your way and say, I have 3 votes when nobody's even voted.
The
And
feedback
she is the acting mayor.
The feedback that I
Let me
have
just say
gotten,
something.
excuse me, the feedback that I have gotten from the fallout from that meeting has been overwhelming. That's all I'm going to say.
And the feedback that I've gotten, that somebody would make an accusation of sunshine violation purely because 3 have a similar opinion. That was what I got a lot of feedback on.
Well, when I asked, can I finish my sentence? And I am very loudly said, no, that's disrespect. So let's leave it there.
And I will say this, and a vice mayor, that title should hold the highest respect for the person who is the mayor. And you have served, Commissioner McCoy, on that board longer than any of us have. So for me, looking from the outside and somebody who was not sitting in the middle of all that, it was complete disrespect and it made our city look bad. You might as well have Pam and Omari back up on the board with the way that behavior happened. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so let's move on. Anything substantive from staff, from any of the commissioners?
I've had, I've had my hand up on that, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've I also have to defend myself because I was roped in, and you know, the accusation, like whether or not it was intentional, I think if, Mayor, we had this conversation. If you were there in person, I think it would have gone differently for sure.
Well, that's
But
unfortunate.
right, but I think if the things that you said were using keywords, if you will, and were accusatory and suggestive that we were breaking the law, and that
Not so good,
has
but it was a very odd thing that through two or
it,
three issues came up and there was absolute
but
agreement on
that
these issues from
I know,
nowhere.
but if I can finish my thought, I mean,
Sure.
these days with, I mean, the risks involved and how there are toxic people out there. There are very real dangers and security risks where, we have candidates, legislative candidates throughout this country who are openly advocating the shooting of FBI agents. People are out there. There are some serious security problems, and what was said, the suggestion that we were breaking the law has been construed by some in very concerning ways. And that kind of accusation shouldn't be tossed around lightly. I mean, I've been called a lot of things in my career, and I tolerate just about all of it. I've developed thick skin over the years, a number of the conspiracy theories, the toxicness, the name calling, all that stuff, not from anybody here, but other things I've done in my life. But the one thing I don't tolerate, and the one thing that I will always stand up and defend myself on, is when I'm accused of breaking the law. Because if
It
there's
was no, and if it was read as
so
breaking the
so
law.
if you wanna take the moment to like clear that up and explain
What
that.
my reaction was three things unannounced came up at the end of a meeting. An announcement was made. I have the three votes before a vote was taken. It was amazingly coincidental that the three commissioners that were sitting up there on the dais were right in agreement with the three topics that came up at the end of a meeting, unannounced and surprising. It was a very odd situation. And if I had been there, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But
I think
I'll point
that
out
I-
that two of those ordinances have been discussed before. The house list things have been discussed before. And it's been
The
something
what?
that the two ordinances, the aggressive panhandling and the other one, those have been.
And I have no problem with the panhandling. We have
Right.
we have the issue with the lawsuits, and Glenn, I think we spoke in
Yeah,
open. We've
right.
spoken open about that. But the park thing, the decriminalizing the park, the people sleeping in the parks and the Sierra, those are two major things. And they came up at the end of a meeting. They were unannounced. And all of a sudden there was three people right there going, ready to vote for it. So let's just leave it at that.
I think.
Madam Mayor,
Madam-
I have to excuse myself, you
Wanna-
guys. I'm sorry. I have to get into class.
Okay,
I
go
think
steady.
one thing that might help, you just mentioned that one thing you reacted to was, and I don't remember exactly what I said.
I thought we were gonna move on to more substantive stuff. I see the
Well,
city manager has
no,
her hand up.
Just a clarification that might explain some of your sharp reaction, and I think I can clarify on. My recollection of when I said that I have the three votes, that was, which does sound like, oh, you know what, you went around and counted votes. What I was referring to at that point was, I believe you had pushed back, understandably, on the thought of asking the attorney to do something with the CRA. And when I said I had three votes, it was referring to, I had asked the commission publicly right there, do I have support for the attorney to do that? And you had pushed back on it, which is fine, and you're totally entitled to do that. And I said, no, I'd like to move forward with that. I have the three votes, referring to the discussion 3 minutes before that there were three votes. That didn't refer, but I can understand where you might have thought, oh, he went around and talked to everybody. And that
I never referred that.
What's that?
And I have never in the past year and a half, when you have talked or anybody has talked, when they asked to finish the sentence, be told no. Let's leave it at that. I want to move on. Ms. Davis? We have
Thank you,
very
Ma-
little time
Ye-
left. We have
yes.
10 minutes left.
Couple of things, if I can say, from a staff perspective, not to belabor this conversation, but I do want to say, from the staff perspective, I do appreciate the conversation and considering staff time as we research and move on directives from the commission. As you know, we have a very great team and we put 100% in what we do to bring you accurate and informed information so that we can help you in your decision-making process. So I do appreciate timing is very important as we try to make sure that we explore the issue that we have to present to you. So I appreciate that. And as we move forward in the process, I do want us to keep that in mind, that it does take time and the staff has a lot on the plate as you talk about how much time you have to do what we do and the time spent in meetings, the time spent in research does take time and we have a lot of major issues as you mentioned. So I do want to say I appreciate that. And I'm sure the staff and the team appreciate it because we want to give 100% what we do. And then to wrap up this meeting, because it's getting late, I wanted to also make sure and confirm that September 27th, I believe we're not going to have a commission meeting based on the holiday Rosh Hashanah. And so with that, we will have items for the utility departments. And if that's okay with the commission, we would be able to put some items on September 20th. If we have some pressing items, we're able to put that on the September 20th agenda. I just wanted to confirm that.
Right, yeah, I think we spoke about that at the beginning of the meeting and I think we pretty
Okay.
much all agree, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay,
But that's all I have. Thank you so much.
okay, great. What's coming up? Well, Thursday's coming up. The Gulfstream meeting is coming up on Thursday.
Yes, and you also have, I believe, 3 interviews for the HBPR meeting board. Yes.
There are
On
So we have
Thursday, are we
3
doing it on
candidates.
4.
4
Oh,
candidates?
4. Thank you, Melissa.
And
Is
we're
it-
doing that on Thursday?
Yes, that would be the first agenda item. If we can do that very early in the meeting, I'm sure the candidates would appreciate it.
Really? Melissa, have they all been notified that that would be the time and they can make it that time?
Yes, I just actually this morning asked Selena to reconfirm with them. But yes, so it's the interviews of 4 individuals, then a discussion, and then the appointment of them.
And we have 2 openings
Correct.
and one is more technical and the other one is at large.
I believe they want both
Both
to
are
be
technical.
both
both
are
technical.
technical?
They
Okay.
prefer that, yes.
Okay, okay. Whew, how about being interviewed in front of 700 people?
Yeah, I'm not very comfortable with,
Is it, I mean, do we have I agree. Is there a way that, I mean, my surgery's Wednesday and I mean, I ran the meeting for like 4 days after my last surgery from the hospital. I'll be home by then. Could we put it on the 6th and make it a little less?
Madam
drama?
Mayor, I
Yeah.
do understand and I know it's a heavy day that evening. But the reason why we put that on that day is because we're quickly trying to appoint additional members because right now we've been struggling to obtain a quorum on that board. So the July and August meetings were canceled due to a lack of a quorum. So it is a dire need to get 2 members involved because it also takes some training as well prior to them.
Because if
moving
we
into
did it
their
on the
position.
6th, the HRPB is the 2nd Wednesday, 3rd Wednesday, I forget which.
William, help me out.
Good morning. It is the 2nd Wednesday. It will be the 14th, which would not leave very much time to orient 3 members for a board the next meeting. And it's going to be a very, very heavy agenda.
Heavy meeting.
Didn't have the 2
Okay.
previous meetings.
All right, so we'll do it that way and then we'll vote that
Thank
night.
you.
We'll vote Thursday on the board members.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of like the fact that we're going to talk about the different members and I don't, yeah, so. Okay, so, but let's please confirm that they can all be there. I know that the latest one was a young woman who's actually an architect who lives in the city. So I mean, that's kind of, I was, heartened by that. And she came recommended from someone that used to be on the planning and zoning board. he has worked with her, one of our former guys. So, all right. So,
All four will be there, two by Zoom, two in person.
okay, why Zoom?
I don't know. I just got a response from Sylvina.
I wonder if they're in town, why they shouldn't be in person.
Okay, I will find out.
Given that the two of them can't be there except, or I guess can't be there by Zoom, I don't know any details, but I think it's very awkward to do it up at the casino with a whole room full of people who are there for other issues. It doesn't seem like a very optimal way to do it. I would be happy to make myself available to meet at some other time and
Earlier that day. All right, the meeting on Thursday starts at what time? 6?
Yes.
Do
Well,
we
that's-
want,
do it earlier. Obviously I can't speak for other people's schedules, but I should probably look
what
at
if we
mine.
did it a little bit earlier? If we did the interviews.
Could
like
we do
say,
at City
5?
Hall and do
No,
them
do it at the casino because we're gonna be set up the audio visual will be at the
Right.
casino. But if we did it at the casino at like 5 or 5:30, I think that would be a little more, and then we can go right into the Gulfstream when we,
I think that's a good solution.
6 o'clock.
Madam Mayor, I'll confirm with the audio team, because they should be there and set up by then, so it shouldn't be a problem, but I'll confirm.
They'll be
with
set up
all-
the day before.
Oh,
Oh,
great,
okay.
thank you, Juan.
Okay. And then if the people on Zoom, I mean, I don't know what the reasons are, but if there's any way that they could be in person, I just think that's a much more equal playing field. So, all right,
Well,
so.
one just had a baby
Yes.
and said that it would be hard to attend in person this week. She had the baby.
Right. No, I know she had a baby. That's why she didn't, she was a little late in applying. Oh, bring the baby.
Ah,
Yeah, it's fine with me, but I understand.
All right. I mean, if that's the way it's gotta be, but I do think that doing it a little bit earlier, is probably kinder to them and to us. And then we can have that vote and then we can start, have a 5-minute break and then start at 6. Send down for some margaritas.
I'm
Mr. Chair.
sorry, so for noticing purposes, since the meeting's already been noticed for
Mhm.
quite a while, and we're getting into this issue, it's a little over 24 hours, so.
We need to stick to the plan, guys. It's 5 o'clock.
At 6
It's-
o'clock.
It's 6
it's
o'clock.
6 o'clock.
With the HRPBs before though, right?
Well, no, the 6 o'clock is the meeting, which we're finding out today was gonna have the interviews, and we were just talking about having it a little bit earlier. I don't think there's as much public interest in people in the HRPB that we could, I mean, tell me your thoughts, guys, but,
I agree with Commissioner McVoy. It's very awkward and difficult. Like not everyone's good at public speaking, so to speak in
Mhm.
front of so many people is difficult. But I don't think we can just call a special meeting like less like 18 hours before. So I don't think it's necessarily an option. And I hear, the staff concern if this is the first time I heard that if historic hasn't met in 2 meetings,
right,
and I'm just
Okay, that's
imagining a backlog of things
so we'll do it at 6.
building up. So
We'll do it
Well, I
at
was
6 and
thinking if we make sure that the first thing, if we can open up the meeting, do the pledge and the invocation, and then before the liaison reports, if you're okay with moving them to the first.
we have liaison
Madam
reports
City
on
Manager,
Thursday?
there are none. It's a special
No.
meeting.
Oh,
so
I
there's
forgot.
Only
Yeah.
the pledge
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right,
and then the 2 items.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome, awesome.
Okay.
So that's
All
even
right.
better.
All right, so they'll just have to buck
yeah,
up. All right. Okay, so it is about, we have 3 minutes, unless somebody has something else that wants to talk about. Chris,
I
do I see
had-
your? Oh,
Oh, was there a hand up? Sorry.
I don't know. No, nope.
I just had like more of a question because I don't think it needs to be an agenda or item or anything, but a little while ago, I think it was Commissioner Malega, or collectively we had talked about the idea of maybe city-owned properties that we can get groups in to work on and beautify, right? And one came up with Bryant Park Neighborhood Association and South 5th and Federal. There's a vacant lot and then that's city owned, and they also already received permission from the owners who own the lot adjacent to the east of it. And basically the idea is we wanted, right now there's some plants, some really good natives, like I think there's sable palm and stuff like there. It was really overgrown up until really recently. Thank you, staff, for cleaning it out largely. But we want to kind of take it a step further and like either do a butterfly garden, make it more natives, just kind of like rip out the grass and put in something more beautiful. And it could be, since it is on South 5th and Federal, it could be kind of a like welcoming entry point to Bryant Park. So basically all we need is permission. And I honestly am not sure what's the process of that. Do we need to bring that up? Do we just like at the next meeting have a consensus and say,
Who would do
yeah,
it? Who would actually do the work?
so Bryant Park Neighborhood between Bryant Park Neighborhood Association and Lake Worth Waterkeeper, we would regularly maintain it with like volunteers, for example, and use it as an opportunity as like a teaching garden, a lot like what we've done with
Right.
Tiger Territory and stuff
Right,
like
which
that.
is a great project. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, because
I
it
mean,
was really overgrown up until like maybe a few weeks ago when staff went in.
which
and
lot do we own? Where, it's on the east side or the west side?
It's on the east side.
On the east side, it's on the corner.
Yeah, right on
Yeah.
the corner. You'll
Yeah, it is.
see,
And
yeah.
you, when you come out of Fifth Avenue South, it's really hard to make that turn because you can't see anything because it's so
Yeah.
overgrown. I think that's a great idea. I don't know what, Miss Davis, I don't know what is entailed to do that, but, I mean, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'll work closely with Commissioner Diaz. It's the first I've heard of the project, and
Yeah.
we'll dig into it and see what's required.
Great.
Okay.
And I would love to see more of that in the city, you know.
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay. Oh,
If
my
I
knees.
could, Madam Mayor,
Like partnerships.
Sure. Who's
Mhm.
speaking?
Glenn.
Oh, hey,
I-
hi.
So Carmen and I have been working to get a slightly revised Gulfstream agreement and an updated economic report. I think we've maybe had some conversations over this last day or two, so we hope to have that posted today. Just
Okay.
wanna-
Yes.
Wanted to let the public know that it's gonna be slightly revised and updated.
Okay. And could they?
Glenn, will there be something other than what was sent out? Will there be something new sent out?
Yes, there'll be additional documents, the updated economic impact analysis, and also the incentives spreadsheet. And like Glenn
Okay.
said, there'll be an updated agreement. That agreement has been posted, but it has been slightly modified, non-substantive modifications.
Okay.
Thank you.
And could you send that, Melissa, to Mayor Resch at Gmail so I can get it easier?
I will do that. I send everything to both, so just in
I
case.
appreciate that. My sad little iPad doesn't even like want to take a charge anymore. It's like, leave me alone. So, and I'm not in the office, so it's kind of makes it easier for me. Oh, Ronaldo, I think that's a great idea. I would love to see more of that kind of stuff going on in the city. And yeah, we're a city that can do that. So, all right. Anything else? Hi, Todd Baer. I see that you've appeared on screen. Is there anything you want to talk to us about?
Just real quick, we'll have ample number of deputies tomorrow at the meeting, and we've got the checks on the 3 of your houses with that social media post, and
I just heard about that yesterday. That's disgusting.
it's disgusting. And the decoy cars in front of Commissioner McVoy's first, we're down to 1 of them. The other 2 were destroyed, but we're going to move them around. Commissioner Stokes has a deputy that lives up and across from her, so that helps. And then we'll move it to Commissioner Diaz, who's probably next.
Yeah, when I came to City Hall last night, Kim and Ronaldo told me about that, and I was disgusted by that completely.
Disgusted, but not surprised. So
I mean,
And-
never know.
I appreciate it. I saw the car quite early yesterday morning. And I believe looking out, looks like, I think it's still there. Feel free to, I didn't feel particularly at risk, but I certainly appreciated the response. I'd say, if I have a vote in it, feel free to move it to either Commissioner Stokes or Diaz at this point.
we'll move it around, and we've been checking, myself and the lieutenant went by all your houses this morning, so we've been checking regularly.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate, yeah, no, that's ridiculous. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. As far as I'm concerned.
That's a technical term.
It's a technical term, and I say it wholeheartedly. I'm from Jersey. What can I tell you? So, all right. So listen, see everybody tomorrow night. So we'll be getting that. And Miss Davis, where is she? Oh, there you are.
Here, I'm here.
They're not big substantive change to the agreement. It's like language stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Language tweaking.
Okay. All right.
Correct, Glenn? Just making sure, get confirmation from the attorney.
Glenn?
Yeah, the language changes, yeah, there may be 6 or 7 places. It's all redlined. I sent Melissa both the red line and a clean version, so it's easy for you to zero in on the few spots where there were some changes.
And it's been submitted to the Gills as well.
Oh, yes.
It's agreed language that you guys have worked out with Gills.
Right, we've had numerous conversations, for a long time, but over these last 2 weeks, and we agreed that there was some language that could be clarified, streamlined a little bit. So you should see that. For example, there's a new checklist. The biggest thing is a new checklist on the very back of it that talks about the construction schedule and reporting to William on a regular basis where they are.
Yeah.
their
And in
construction.
full disclosure, I was part of one of those conversations last week just to lend an ear and hopefully come up with some language, but that's the only involvement I've had. So I haven't seen that, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, everybody, have a great day. And I will see you all tomorrow night.
6 o'clock, be there.
Good day, everyone.
Be there, be square. I'm hoping that tomorrow night goes smoothly, just in general terms.
Yeah. And if there's one last thing to congratulate or thank you, Glenn, for your rental notice ordinance, because it keeps on giving because the county just passed their copy and paste version yesterday.
Yeah,
So-
I still have a question about enforcement. I think it's a wonderful thing that we did, but I still,
We got to work on that. Yeah.
I'm always proud of our city because we are a leader on so many of these issues. And I was at that county commission meeting yesterday as well, and so that got passed. So
did we get credit for being the first ones?
I don't know if they
Maybe not.
explicitly said that, but
It's
I
the
think
county
they all
anyway,
know
you
it. They're all aware of it.
All right.
Yeah.
But people know, people are.
Yeah.
paying
People know.
Mhm.
People know.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you, staff, for listening to
right,
all of
have a
us,
good
and thank
day.
you for your time
Staff,
last night.
stay
for
on
the
this
guys that
link.
were here. What?
I need staff